Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blind Judgment Podcast. I'm Hugh, and I'm so excited because today I am joined by my lovely co-host, Jay.
That is I. Hello, everyone.
You are the Jay. And together we explore some truly strange true crime tales. So if you are just now tuning in, let me give you a quick little rundown of our format. So I start off each episode by presenting a series of photos that are somehow related to the crime. And just to kind of clarify, the content of these photos, they may include but are not limited to like the weapon used, the location of the crime, the perpetrator, the MO, the victim, and so on. They just are crucial details that come up within the crime itself. And Jay is going to use these visuals as clues to help piece together the mystery of the case. All right. So, Jay, I sent you those pictures.
All right.
So if you wouldn't mind looking at them and telling me what you think.
Sorry, let me hang up with Verizon customer care because I was just upgrading my text plan so that I can receive these text messages from you since you send them all the time instead of airdropping them. Anyways. Okay.
All right, mellow out. Take it easy.
All right, so the first photo is of a beautiful California. Looks like we're in LA. Palm trees in the baby blue sky. Second photo is of, it looks like a couple, a man and a woman sitting on a couch, definitely arguing. Third photo is a police badge. Fourth photo is a revolver. And the final photo looks like a burglar with a crowbar in his hands moments before entering a home. Okay, so it looks like we're definitely in Los Angeles. We're dealing with a couple that's maybe a little heated. Perhaps they have a revolver in the house and an intruder of some sort. Okay, here's what I think happened. We have a couple fighting in the house, and they live in Los Angeles, and they think they have an intruder coming into the house, and in a moment of self-defense, they pull out their revolver, shoot the intruder, only to find that it was actually a police officer. And so now they're in some hot water. The end.
That was really good. I feel like, it doesn't really have much to do with the case, but that was a really good story.
Okay, so right off the bat,
I feel like you could make
failed.
that into a movie.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and give myself an applause because that was such a good story.
It was really good. I was really interested. Maybe for your next special, maybe you could make up a story like that.
Oh, whatever, dude. Okay, I'm not going to make them up all the time, all right?
All right. Well, so is that going to be like your final answer or what?
Yeah, that's my final answer. Even though I know I'm way wrong. I'm going to leave it.
You're going to have to lock it in.
No, I'm going to leave it in spite of you because my made up story is already going to be better than your real stupid research true story, okay?
Damn, that's really cold for like the victim and the victim's family, but
we're in the entertainment business, okay? It's hard. It's it's a rough world out there.
Let's get this train back on the tracks. So, since you've locked that in, let's just go ahead and dive right into the case.
Okie dokie. February
24th, 1986. So this is in the Van Nuys area of Los Angeles, California.
Okay. Isn't that where skateboarding was born? Just kidding.
I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen Lords of Dogtown. That's about the invention of skateboarding, right?
But I think they were in Venice.
Oh, well, all right, cut that out or not.
God damn.
This episode's going to be 2 minutes long. I'm like, just cut it.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, so John Rutan is getting ready for work, and he's chatting with his wife, Sherry Rasmussen. They're a young couple in their like mid to late 20s. They're newlyweds. They actually got married only a few months prior. So they're still very much in that like love bubble, right? They're super, super happy.
Okay.
So they are just chatting about their day. And Sherry tells John that she has to give a motivational speech at work that day. She's the director of nursing at the Glendale Adventist Medical Center. And she really does not want to give this presentation. She wants to stay home, stay in her PJs. She's not feeling it, which I feel like that's exactly how you and I probably felt this morning. So she is thinking that she's going to call in sick and she's going to tell them that she has injured her back in her aerobics class the night before.
Which is a lie, right?
That would be a lie. Yeah, she wants to play hooky so she can just stay at home.
Okay. I'm, just calibrating her character. And right now, she's a liar.
All right, stop it. So John's like, okay, do whatever you feel you got to do. And he leaves their condo and he heads to work. So throughout the day, John tries calling the house under the assumption that Sherry would be home, but she never picks up and their answering machine wasn't turned on. So at first, he's not super concerned. He's like, well, I guess she ended up going to work or she's out somewhere because, she's an adult and she can do whatever she wants, So he returns home that evening. He pulls into their condo's gated complex and immediately something is off. He notices that the garage door is open and shattered glass is littered all over the driveway, presumably from their sliding glass balcony door that was located just above their driveway.
Okay.
Additionally, Sherry's BMW is missing. So he runs inside the garage, he sprints up the stairs into the condo, and he discovers that it has been completely ransacked. Okay? Furniture is broken. It's been thrown around the house. His brand new stereo system that he had just bought is out of place and it's sitting next to the door. He is then confronted with a horrifying scene. His wife, Sherry, was lying dead on their living room floor in a pool of her own blood.
Dang.
So signs of a vicious struggle are apparent. There are broken items, broken glass. There's a lot of blood. He goes to run out of the house to get help. Are you typing right now?
I'm writing down my questions so I don't forget them.
Okay. All right. Keep it down over there.
It doesn't matter. I'm going to cut it out.
All right, fine. I'm at an 11 right now.
For real. I'm scared. We're about to become a blind judgment episode.
Okay. Anyways, let's reel it back in. So
you reel it back in. I am reeled in. You reeled me in off the rip, okay?
You're like, no more reeling here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like the darkest part. And I'm like, are you fucking typing over there, Ben?
I know. I think you thought I was like playing video games or something.
Yes, I did. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? The disrespect, the level of disrespect.
All right, now I know I can't boot up Mario Party while we're filming a Blind Judgment episode.
I wanted you to, but honestly, that would be a funny concept. Like, your girlfriend's trying to explain something to you and you're just not paying attention. You're like, yeah, go, babe.
It's like,
Let's go, babe.
How far can I get in Mario Party while I'm also trying to pay attention in a podcast? All right, continue. This is the darkest part of your epi.
His wife, Sherry, was lying dead on the living room floor in a pool of her own blood. Signs of a vicious struggle were apparent. There are broken items, broken glass, and there is a lot of blood. He goes to run out of the house to go get help, but before he does, he notices a bloody handprint near the panic button of the burglar alarm.
Ooh.
Like someone was reaching for it, but couldn't quite get to it. So he runs to the neighbor's house and begs them to call the police. First responders arrive and pronounce Sherry Rasmussen dead on arrival. She was 29 years old. All right, so what are your thoughts so far? What are your questions?
Am I allowed to go back to the notes that I typed up, or are you going to bite my head off?
Yes, and I did. Baby, I wasn't biting your head off. Let's keep that real.
All right, so most important question I have, I guess, is do you have a picture of the BMW?
I don't have a picture of the BMW, but I do have a picture of the same model of BMW that she had, which I will send to you later.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So you will see what the BMW looked like. It's just a typical BMW sedan.
Okay. And I know you kind of went out of your way to describe the stereo being in a weird location, which was by the door.
Yes, it was by the door.
Was it hooked up, or it was just kind of like thrown about and maybe had landed by the door?
Ooh, that is a very, very good question, Jay. It was not hooked up. It was neatly stacked in a pile next to the door.
All right.
So it was taken out of its original place and carefully placed next to the door.
Okay, that's equally, if not more weird than if it were hooked up. Okay, so that's interesting. That's pretty much where I'm at. I guess, I'm assuming that she was taken out pretty quickly, because she wasn't able to get to the panic button, and then the ransacking happened after she was already down, right? Because I would assume.
Well, I think we'll find out.
Well, I know. I'm just letting you know where I'm at.
All right. Calm down.
All right, continue.
All right. So before we go any further, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory for the characters within this story.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about John first. So John he's a SoCal boy. All right. He's originally from San Diego. He ended up going to UCLA, where he majored in mechanical engineering. And he was a pretty typical college student. He was a really good student, really into athletics. And he was also kind of seeing this girl. Her name is Stephanie Lazarus. So Stephanie is also a SoCal girl. She was a poli-sci major. She was also really into sports. She was a member of the UCLA's JV basketball team. So they have some stuff in common, and they become pretty good friends. And according to John, they were really just kind of like casually dating. Again, they were good friends, but it was like lighthearted, not serious. They were just kind of like messing around, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't actually end up like hooking up until after they graduated. However, it was clear to friends and peers that Stephanie took their relationship a lot more seriously.
Mm.
So after graduation, John starts working for this company, Micropolis. So they make these hard drives, and he works there. And Stephanie goes into the police academy, and she becomes a uniformed officer with the LAPD. So while they are still like establishing themselves in the real world, John and Stephanie are still casually sleeping together, but they aren't dating. John really just views this as like a hookup. Okay, she's kind of like a side piece, but like he's just, do you know what I mean? Like he's just kind of, it's
Yeah,
really
side
shitty
piece.
and not painting not painting John in a good light.
What?
Very clearly.
Why? Because she
But-
liked him?
Well, I don't think he was making it very clear.
You think he was leading her on?
I mean,
It sounds like
I
they're
don't know.
both each other's side pieces. No?
no, Stephanie took it really seriously.
Oh.
Stephanie is under the impression that they are like
Oh, my bad.
they're together, like they're like a thing. But John is like,
The dude part of my
I'm just
brain
getting
blocked
with
that
her.
out. I didn't even hear
That's
that part.
alarming. That is not what I want to hear my boyfriend say. All right, guys. This may be the last episode of the Blind Judgment podcast.
You
We'll
keep
see.
saying
Stay
that.
tuned.
What's going on? What are your plans for 2025? Jesus.
I'm just kidding. It's just a cheesesteak. Cut that out. Cut out.
We're not going to have anything to air. Okay. I'm leaving it all in, by the way.
No, you're gonna give me a bad edit. Okay, so yeah, so John's he's just fucking around, pretty much. So, so everything changes when, through mutual friends, John is introduced to Sherry Rasmussen. So Sherry is from Walla Walla, Washington, which is a fantastic name for a location. I'm obsessed with it. It's great. But he meets her. She's about 3 years older than he is. And she's moved to Los Angeles when she attended the Loma Linda University. So she's working as a critical care nurse, and she's about to be promoted to the director of nursing at her hospital. She's very intelligent, she's witty, she's beautiful, and John is smitten. They hit it off, they click instantly, and they begin a serious relationship pretty quickly. So at John's 25th birthday party, and this is a party that Stephanie attended, mind you, John announces that he and Sherry are engaged. They're going to get married.
Dang.
So, not really realizing that he had formed a serious bond with this girl, Stephanie is absolutely distraught. She is heartbroken. She tells her friends that she is deeply in love with him. She's so depressed. She's let herself go. Like, this is super hard for her, you know?
Yep.
So a couple weeks later, Stephanie goes to visit John at his condo, and they end up hooking up to give her closure. But honestly, it didn't do that, and it only fueled the fire.
Wait. Who went over?
Stephanie, his side piece, goes over to his apartment or to his condo, and this is before Sherry moved in. And they end up hooking up while he's engaged to Sherry.
Oh my God. I did hear that correctly.
Yeah.
Scandalous.
Yeah. Scandalous. And so apparently it was so she could like get closure.
Yeah.
But it's clear that, you know, that didn't really happen.
Dang, John is a savage.
He's a scuzzball. Are you kidding me? That sounds shady as heck.
I mean, it takes two to tango. He obviously
True.
weaseled his way out of getting some more nookie. Sorry, did I just say that?
He'd do anything for the nookie. What? The nookie. What? The nookie? Anyway.
Cut that out.
Cut.
Okay.
So when Sherry moves in with John, Stephanie would drop by the condo like whenever she wanted. And when she stops by, when she knows that John will be there, she's wearing like tight, sexy workout clothes. But if she stops by when she knows it's just Sherry, she makes a point to be in her full police uniform with her gun on her hip.
So Sherry is not aware of their past?
Sherry is like, well, and this is kind of unknown, but she knows that Stephanie is really close with John. She knows that Stephanie is one of his closest, like a close friend, but it's not really known if she was fully aware of the situation.
Oh, let me tell you, she knew, but she was just going to play ignorant.
Yikes. Okay. So, hang on. I lost my place. Yeah, so she's being very intimidating. And she comes over for like a multitude of reasons. So like maybe she needs help with her car. Maybe she needs her skis waxed. She's doing everything she can to wedge herself back into his life. Now, like we just discussed, Sherry is very sweet and she is trying to be polite. But she is voicing her concerns about this girl coming over to their house.
Yeah.
And like she gets that they're friends. She respects that. But she is like urging him to tell her to stop coming over. And he totally agrees. He's like, I'll talk to her. So he does. And Stephanie does not take it well, obviously. She thinks that this is all Sherry's fault and that she thinks that it's all Sherry's fault, and she starts stalking her.
Dang.
So just a few months later, the couple ties the knot in late 1985. And they go through a period of time where they don't hear from Stephanie, and they just assume that, you know, she's moved on, she stopped contacting them. They would be proved wrong when in January of 1986, Stephanie shows up to Sherry's work and tells her that her relationship with John is not over. And if I can't have John, no one else will.
Dang.
All right. So where are you at right now? We have a love triangle.
Yeah, I mean, I was waiting for Stephanie to drop the bomb. Like, I'm surprised that John even let her come around knowing that he cheated on his fiance with her. Like, he was so confident that she wasn't going to spill the beans.
Yes, I know.
He's just playing with fire.
Which is so weird. I think he's playing them both, clearly.
Well, yeah, but he's just like, letting them, the fact that he even lets them get in the same room, is insane. And let them like visit each other while he's not there. He must not, he must have control over Stephanie to the point where he knows she's not going to give up the goods. Well, I guess until now.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's crazy. Okay, well, let's jump back in. So let's go back to February 24th. So Sherry has just been found deceased in the condo that she shared with her husband, John. Police are on the scene. You know what I mean. All right. Any Vanilla Ice fans? Please cut that out. LAPD detectives are working on the case, and they quickly determine that Sherry had been caught off guard and killed by an intruder. She was badly beaten with a blunt object, shot 3 times at close range through a quilt, and she also sustained a bite mark on her forearm, presumably from her attacker. Her clothing, she was in her bathrobe and pajamas, were intact on her body, so no sexual assault sexual assault was like not a motive. Okay. So investigators assume, this is the story that they go with, that the intruder was in the midst of stealing their stereo when Sherry unexpectedly encountered them. And while all of those items were left behind, the only items missing were Sherry's BMW, which was found abandoned a week later, with nothing missing in it, completely intact, and the couple's marriage license.
Hmm.
Yeah. So John was quickly dismissed as a suspect. He had an airtight alibi, and he was extremely cooperative with the police. Detectives continued to concentrate on the burglary angle, and they don't really go on to explore like any other possibilities. And this is kind of because there was like another burglary reported in the same vicinity. And this is one where the suspects were seen with a firearm that could have possibly been like a 38 caliber revolver, which was similar to the one that they determined shot Sherry.
Okay.
Now, one of the detectives found the bite mark very peculiar, noting that bites during altercations are typically inflicted by women, while most burglars are male. Nevertheless, since men can also obviously bite during a fight, the burglary theory remained plausible. And now this was in LA during the 1980s, which was absolutely riddled with crime. It was also in the middle of the crack epidemic. LAPD was dealing with tons of homicides, tons of other crimes every single day. So they didn't really give this one, this particular case, a whole lot of attention. They thought, all right, this was a burglary gone wrong. Ultimately, law enforcement concludes that, she just got killed during a robbery. However, Sherry's parents go to the police and they're like, so our daughter told us that John's friend Stephanie, who is a police officer, has been like harassing her and stalking her. And like, you need to look into this girl.
Right.
So the police end up questioning John about it. And he claims that he and Sherry actually never talked about Stephanie and she was never an issue.
What?
So, yeah. So, and I don't know if this is because John was very convincing or because Stephanie was a cop on the force. They do not take this tip very seriously. They stick with that burglar theory, and the case goes cold.
He lied just so he can maintain his side piece after his fiance died.
Sketch. Very sketch. So, in the years after her murder, Sherry's parents pressure the police to reopen their daughter's case, do some more investigation. They want justice. Unfortunately, John remarries. He moves out of the Los Angeles area and he just kind of drops it. He does not apply the same amount of pressure on the police as his former in-laws do. Now, Stephanie is thriving, okay? She continues her role with the LAPD, and by 1993, she's actually promoted to detective. She marries a fellow officer with whom she has a child, and then they move to Simi Valley, where she ends up becoming an instructor at the police academy. So she has this whole career with law enforcement in the LA area and with the LAPD. In the late 1990s, as DNA testing becomes more of a thing and these techniques have improved, the LAPD create a new unit focused on reviewing forensic evidence from cold cases to uncover potential new leads through DNA analysis. And one of the cases that is eligible for this kind of investigation is Sherry's homicide.
Why? If
However,
it wasn't
it's
a cold case?
No, it was it went cold. They never found the perpetrators of her burglary,
Oh,
of
okay,
her
gotcha.
crime.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's unsolved.
Okay, got it.
So it's not until 2004 that a criminalist named Jennifer Francis was able to investigate it. Although Detective Francis did not find any matches in the database, she discovered that the saliva sample found on the bite mark on Sherry's arm was from a female, which contradicted the initial detective's theory of a burglary. Upon realizing that the biter and likely the perpetrator was female, she revisited the case and found a report about a third-party female who had allegedly been stalking and harassing the victim prior to the murder. So this criminalist, she checks in with the detective that's assigned to Sherry's case about whether this woman has been looked into. And so he's like, oh, so you mean the LAPD detective? And he's like, yeah, apparently she was like a friend or like former flame of the victim's husband. And she works as an LAP detective now, but she's not involved in this. This crime was just a burglary gone wrong. She's not involved in it. Don't look any further. So the detective doesn't want to move forward with this new evidence.
It's because he's sleeping with
sketch.
Stephanie too.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention, but I feel like this is kind of funny. So on the police force, Stephanie has a little nickname. They call her Spazzarus.
Okay.
Because her last name is Lazarus and she's apparently an absolute psycho. But at any rate, I don't think he's banging her. But
okay, thanks for clearing
he's
that
definitely.
up.
I don't think they're hooking up, but I think he's trying to protect his own. So so she goes to him. He's not interested in picking this up. And no other detective would take the case. So that evidence, again, becomes archived. So now in 2009, the LAPD creates another special unit to solve cold case files. And because there is so much evidence associated with this crime, and with that recent discovery of female DNA, and it disproving the original theory of the burglary, It garners some attention from two new detectives who get the case reopened. So they believe that the motive of this crime is to murder, and that the burglary was just staged to mislead the police. Several elements of the crime seemed kind of unlikely for a typical break-in. It was the middle of the day. Her jewelry box was like clearly visible and untouched. The electronics equipment was left behind right next to the door, neatly stacked, while everything else in the condo was completely ransacked, you know? The condo was also located in a gated community. There were other units where the burglars could be easily seen. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, using the extensive case file, they compile a list of 5 female suspects. They exhaust all efforts of investigation on 4 of the suspects who are cleared, and they start to narrow in on the final suspect, Stephanie Lazarus. So they start really looking into her life. So in the 1980s, most LAPD officers carried a .38 revolver as a backup weapon, and records show that Lazarus owned a Smith & Wesson .38.
Uh-oh.
And 2 weeks after the murder, she reported the gun as stolen. So the detectives theorize that, okay, if a police officer would probably commit a murder on their day off and they have access to that information, they see that Stephanie was off on the day that Sherry Rasmussen was killed, they would probably not use their on-duty weapons because obviously that would be super easy to track. And also, a police officer would know how to stage the scene to look like a burglary.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
So, identifying Stephanie as the main suspect, the detectives plan to discreetly obtain a DNA sample from her. So, while she was off duty, she discarded a cup that she had been using. So they get that cup out of the trash and they submit it for testing against the DNA found on Sherry's body, and it was a freaking match.
What? This is such like a movie story.
Yeah, they're hot on the trail now. Yeah. It is crazy. It's this one's got a lot of twists and turns. So Stephanie is arrested. And when they start to question her, she is like, this is so ridiculous. Like, y'all are just trying to close the case. I'm completely innocent. And because she's a cop, like, she knows all of the interview techniques. So she's not giving up any information. Her bail is set at $10 million cash, which she does not pay. And she waits in jail for her trial to begin.
Dang.
Where are you at right now? Do you have any thoughts? I guess I haven't checked in with you in forever.
For real.
Do you have any questions?
No, I think I've managed to sprinkle them in throughout. But yeah, I mean, I was definitely thinking that she knew all the right moves to set that crime scene up to make the people who would be looking and searching through it believe it was an intruder. And she did a damn good job. She's working from the inside, so she knows what to say, what to do. So I'm still thinking that she's going to somehow weasel her way out of this.
I know. I mean, she's been able to weasel her way out of it this long. I mean,
I kind of want it. Oh, I kind of want her to.
Really? You want her to be able to get away with
it's like
it? Why?
It's like a movie, and it'll just be like
She's
a
like an
better
anti-hero?
movie. Yeah, but also, whenever you were like, the detectives were gonna discreetly get her DNA. I was like, oh, these suckers are just gonna like go hook up with her because apparently that's what she's doing.
I mean, it would track.
Yeah.
Come on, Stephanie.
But no, it's yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Interesting. Okay. So her trial starts in February of 2012. Prosecutors claim that Stephanie murdered Sherry out of jealousy. They say that she showed up to the home looking for John, but when he wasn't there, an argument broke out and she attacked Sherry, beat her with the butt of her gun before shooting her, and then staged the scene to look like a break-in. The defense argued that LAPD was trying to close the case and only went after her because of her involvement with the victim's husband. So the trial lasted about 4 weeks, and after only just a few days of deliberation, the jury found Stephanie Lazarus guilty of first-degree murder, and she was later sentenced to 25 years to life in prison.
Dang.
Now, in 2013, she tried to appeal her conviction, claiming that she did not have appropriate representation, but her appeal got denied. And in 2023, she had her suitability for parole hearing. So that's a hearing that they do because she got 25 to life. And, 25 to life means you serve 25 years and then you're eligible for parole and then you could get out or you have a life sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like up to 25 years. So this kind of preliminary hearing is to see, like, would she even be eligible for parole in 25 years? So that's what they're doing for this hearing.
What do they use to determine that?
Okay, so when we'll get into it, but typically a person would talk to the board and say, I've been rehabilitated. This is the growth that, I've had with my time in prison. Other people will vouch for them to say, oh, they've been reformed, they've changed, all this.
Okay, that's cool.
And so at this hearing, she confesses to the murder. She claims that she was just young and love-struck, and it just kind of happened. She just kind of methodically killed her and covered it up.
Yeah.
And she never came forward about it because she was ashamed. But she says she's so remorseful, she's so apologetic, and that her years in prison have really rehabilitated her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she wasn't fooling the parole board. The crime was brutal. The cover-up was methodical. And she went over 2 decades without saying anything.
But just being ashamed.
So they're like, you got away with this for 23 years. That was your parole. And she, again, was denied.
Dang, I like that.
Yeah, so she will not be released on parole.
Good.
Now, to really conclude, this is where the story ends. Finally, after 23 years, Sherry and her family were able to get some justice. Obviously, nothing's going to bring Sherry back, but at least her family has the peace knowing that their daughter's murderer is going to spend the rest of their life behind bars.
Yeah.
So that is all I have for you. What do you think? How do you think this relates in with your initial assumption on the case?
Well, you already know.
Which was way off.
Yeah. No, I really liked the twists and the turns and the love triangle. That was definitely spicy. I just got this image of Stephanie being this like cold-hearted, mean, just person. And obviously, I think in some environments, that's what you need to thrive. And I think being a detective and police officer, it kind of worked for her. She kind of had to be closed
Yeah.
off and keep things close to the chest, even a murder that you've committed. And so it's just
Yeah.
it's crazy to imagine that she's out there fighting for justice for other people while at the same time she's guilty of a murder. That's insane.
Yeah. She killed a girl.
She killed a girl, and wasn't the LAPD known for being
They are
super
so
corrupt?
super corrupt. So also get this. So this is another thing. So the Rasmussens, Sherry's parents, several times when all of this came out that like it was Stephanie Lazarus, an LAPD officer that killed their daughter, they tried to file a wrongful death lawsuit against the LAPD because they had all this information and they never moved forward with it. And every time they tried to file it several times, and it would not be heard. It kept getting dismissed, and they can't go anywhere with it. Like that's so sketchy and so corrupt.
Does LAPD have anything to have a say in whether or not that goes to court or anything like that?
Well, I would say that like the LAPD and like the court system in Los Angeles, I feel like they're tied up pretty good.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So they're not gonna they're almost like we said earlier. They're gonna protect their own.
They're not gonna go after one of their own. Yeah.
Dang. What was the victim's name again? Her name is Sherry?
Sherry Rasmussen. And I will I'll send some photos for you to put on our Reddit.
Well,
for our listeners and for you.
I haven't been putting the photos on Reddit. I don't think anybody's going to it. And it's like an extra 30 minutes that, I can use for something else. So, let's use this as a PSA. If you do like the photos, let us know. Send us a comment. If you're our friends or family, just tell us, hey, man, I like them photos. But right now, I'm assuming ain't nobody ever seen these photos. So I'm not going to waste my time.
Okay. Fair enough. Good plan. But I will send you the photos
I still want to see
you
them.
can look at
for
on
sure.
your own.
Yeah, send them my way.
So you can see them, and then you can also see Stephanie. And I mean, no offense, but all of the offense. She's got crazy eyes, man. Like she's got like a crazy face. She kind of looks like my boss in my first like professional job. Cut this out.
No, this is what we've learned. Like if every time you send pictures of the bad guy, they always have a crazy look in their eye.
They do. It's exactly like the one where the guy killed his wife. And he had crazy eyes, and this lady has crazy eyes. It's a pattern.
Well, another thing that I thought was interesting, and I felt like a dead giveaway that Stephanie was guilty, was whenever Sherry got with John, she was like, if I can't be with him, nobody can. And then started stalking her. And then all of a sudden, when the crime happened, he finds another woman, moves away and gets married. And then she's like, okay. And then goes on about her life and she gets married or with somebody, right? It's like,
yeah.
If she was innocent, I felt like she would have just gone and disrupted John's life with this new girl. Right. But he was like, no, I'm going to stay clear.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to keep my distance because I don't want to associate myself with him anymore because I just killed his ex-wife or fiance.
His wife. Bro, exactly. Let me tell you what I think. I don't think the relationship, the hookup relationship between John and Stephanie, I don't think it ever really ended. He says they hooked up just one time after him and Sherry got engaged. I think that they were continuing to hook up the entire time. And he maybe he was real with her and maybe he said hey, I'm married to Sherry now, we can't hook up anymore. And she just snapped. And then I think that freaking John knew it was Stephanie that killed Sherry. And he was probably like, I know you fucking killed my wife. Leave me alone, or I'm going to go to the police and tell them that you killed her. And so that's what I think.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he was hiding it or something. Because he just kind of vanished. And it should have been like very clear. And the fact that he lied and said that they didn't talk. He said, what did he say? That Sherry didn't know about Stephanie? Or they never talked about her?
Yeah, he was like, they never talked about her. She didn't know about Stephanie, all of this.
Yeah, very strange. But it was a good story. A true story, might I add.
Yes, this is a real deal, true story.
Cool.
I think it's crazy that after 23 years, they were able to solve it. Like, I think that's so cool.
I know, it almost makes it like, I know this is all bad, but it's almost better because you know that Stephanie felt at some point like, I did it. Like, I escaped
the perfect crime.
I escaped prosecution. Like, and then kind of let her guard down and was like, that's behind me. And then one day, this new detective comes up in LAPD, you know, thinking he's a hot shit and wants to pick up a case. And then boom, Stephanie is in jail. Good always prevails. No, just kidding. It doesn't.
That's funny. I like that. I feel like we should clip that and add that in as like
our TikTok,
maybe part of our intro song.
Whatever, dude.
Welcome everybody to the Blind Judgment Podcast.
All right, I need to get going to the gym here. So can we wrap this up?
Well, okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next one.
Later, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.